Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? First of all, I just wanted to thank Jay and Hendrix Live for organizing, so if we can give them another round of applause, I think this is really, really cool. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and listen to myself and all of the other speakers. So my name is Jen Floyd. I am a wife, a mom, entrepreneur, small business owner, and Olympian. I was in the 2008 Beijing Olympics for rowing. So what I wanted to talk to you about tonight is the mindset of an elite athlete, not just during the Olympics or the training that it took to get there, but before the dream of even going to the Olympics occurred, and then talk about that elite athlete's mind after the training and the athletic career is over, and after that high of going to the Olympics has ended. So this idea came to me recently during a church service that I attended. They had a guest minister speaking, and his whole service was on mental health. So it really got me thinking about how my current mental health looks very different than when I was training. So I will meet people, and when they find out I'm an Olympian, I think they assume there is this mental toughness, this focus, this determination that's going on up here all the time. I feel like a very different person now than I was in my 20s and my early 30s when I was training. So I started asking myself, how did I feel as a kid? What was going through my mind? Was there something that I did or that I learned that helped me with mindset so that I could push myself as hard as I have ever pushed myself before and still stay composed and confident during those hard times? But first, before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about me and where I came from. So this is a picture of me, my parents, my two brothers, my two younger brothers. I am older, and yes, they are taller than me. This was after the Olympic final at the Olympics. This is current, me, my husband, and my son. He's 11, he's in 5th grade. And then our dog, Farley. So I was born in Arizona. When I was 3 years old, we moved to Central New York, which is where my parents are from. I moved to Indiana in September of 2011 to take on the role of executive director of Indianapolis Rowing Center in Eagle Creek Park. I met my husband in 2013. We got married, had our son in 2014, and we currently live in Canby. And yes, I know that all happened very fast. But when I was in college, I was recruited to play volleyball at a small junior school. My sophomore year, I also did track and field. I then transferred to Cornell. Didn't do a sport my junior year because I wanted to focus on class. And I hated it. I was very unhappy. I was also very out of shape, too. So I did what I always do. I found a sport. So the end of my junior year, I reached out to the rowing coach, and I asked if it was possible to row my senior year, to walk on and row, and if so, what needed to be done to join the team. So I did what she suggested. Over the summer, I tried out for the rowing team my senior year, and I made it. And by making it, I mean I didn't quit. After the first week or two, people were falling off like flies, but I stuck with it. So let's dive into my mindset years before the Olympics. Oh, this right here, this is 80s all over it. With that puffed up hair. My aunts actually wanted to do a little makeover. I always had a perm bangs, perm everywhere, and they just really fluffed it up. So that was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. And then that is my official Olympic headshot. And then currently, just within the past year. So, young Jen, my mindset was fun. All right, so I participated in many sports. Bowling was my first at age 8, and then I got into baseball, softball, swimming, volleyball, track and field. We couldn't afford travel or all-star teams, so everything I did was through school or a rec league. So at this young age, I played sports and did things because they were fun. I just really enjoyed them. I also played the clarinet and band, was involved in the school musical, had multiple jobs when I was older in high school. So I felt confident, comfortable, capable when I was out on the field, on the court, in the water. I just felt like I could be myself. I could relax. So it was fun. That was my mindset. I enjoyed everything that I did. I wasn't forced to do anything. My parents didn't force me to do a sport, even throughout college. It was my choice. It was my decision. So now, moving on to the elite level mindset. So there's 4 areas that I want to highlight during my training and also leading up to the Olympics. So the first one is facts over feelings. I kept journals of every workout I did, my times, my splits, my heart rate, everything I did that day that may have affected my training, what I ate, when I went to bed, when I woke up. If I felt like I was getting slower or worse, I could go back and look at my journals and look at similar workouts, look at my splits, my heart rate, my time. Most of the time, it showed that I was getting faster. I was getting more efficient. I was going faster at a lower heart rate, so I was getting more efficient. So I had those journals to show and prove to myself those facts, that I was getting faster. So our coach had a similar system. You received points based on your performance over 4 key tests. He used this in Olympic selection. So it served as the facts behind why you made the boat. So the next one is trust. You had to trust your coaches, their training plan. I had to trust my teammates. If I questioned anything, that doubt could affect my performance. I feel like rowing is one of the ultimate team sports. If you doubt anyone in your boat, it usually slows the boat down. Because you have to 100% row as one. You all have to catch at the same time, get that blade in the water at the same time. You all have to push your legs as one at the same time. You have to release and take that oar out of the water exactly at the same time, and you have to move your body together exactly at the same time. Everyone is working towards the same goal and giving it everything you have, so you have to trust the people in your boat. If you have not read Boys in the Boat, I highly recommend reading that. It's about the 1936 U.S. men's Olympic rowing team and their training that led up to the Munich Olympics. The author does an amazing job explaining the relationship and the trust between all those boys in the boat, or the men in the boat. So I highly recommend it. Boys in the Boat. All right, next, and I know this probably seems like a well, duh moment, giving 100% effort all the time, but it was in my head all the time. The coaches were watching all the time, writing down times, taking notes. Your teammates were doing the same thing. They were taking mental notes. The same teammates who were fighting for the same spot in the boat as you. So I was reminded of this when I was watching the reality show Special Forces. I don't know if anybody else has watched that, but they take celebrities and athletes and they put them in Special Forces training scenarios and challenges. Shawn Johnson, she was a gymnast in the 2008 Olympics, was on the last season. So she was called in to talk to the sergeants because they asked about her demeanor. She rarely showed emotion during the challenges. She didn't really open up to anybody. She just kept to herself. So she referred back to her Olympic training. She mentioned the coaches were always watching. And if you showed emotions such as pain, fear, discomfort, happiness, they might see that as a sign of weakness and cut you. So my training was similar. We had fun, but at the same time, you knew you were always being watched and judged. If you had an off day or an off practice, that could make it or break it for you. Next is balance. So the goal was to find some balance between training as an elite athlete and also a regular life. So I was training 5 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, sometimes also on Sunday on a 7th day. The rest of the time was spent recovering, resting, or working a job to help support yourself. And it was getting rough after a while. So I did see a sports psychologist, and he talked about our life as a chair with 4 legs. So if one leg breaks, you still have 3 to stand on. If a second leg breaks, it's gonna be a little wobbly, but you still have 2 legs. So it was a metaphor to just find things outside of rowing that I could rely on if and when rowing ends. So at the time for me, it was hanging out with friends, my family, seeing movies, music, and honestly going to work, having a job outside of rowing that kind of removed me from rowing for a little bit. And this kind of reminds me, if you don't have that balance, I think about some, we had the Olympics recently, and I know some of my own teammates, I think some of them just don't know when, not necessarily to stop, or if something happens, they don't know what to do after the Olympics or after their training as an athlete. That has been their identity for so long as an athlete. They just don't know what to do afterwards, so they just keep returning back. There were some of my teammates who just kept going back and back and back, and I'm like, I don't know how they're doing it. Like, they're in their 30s and early 40s, and they're still training like that. I was ready to be done. I ended on my own terms, and I knew mentally I was ready to be done with training and to move on. So, present day mindset. I'll be honest, I'm still figuring that out. So as a mom and a wife, a business owner, a woman in her 40s, this has been the hardest part of my life when it comes to my mindset. My younger self, it was all about having fun. When I was training, it was still fun, but I was focused on one thing, making the Olympic team. I didn't have a husband, I didn't have a kid, I didn't have a business that depended on me. But in today's climate, with all of the social media out there, it's really having a toll on our mental health and mindset, mine included. I constantly compare myself to other business owners who I'm following on social media, other moms, wives, women my age, telling myself I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not where I should be, I'm not as successful as everybody else out there. Blah, 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 all of that stuff. I'm sure some of you guys think the same thing. So you are not alone. So honestly, I'm still navigating this part of my life and trying to keep my mind focused, positive, realistic. So about a year ago, my family and I started going to church, and I think reacquainting myself with Jesus and the story of his life has really helped me to stay positive and believe that there is a purpose for me in this chapter of my life. I really look forward to going to service on Sunday now, so I think that has really been helping with my mindset. I try to stay off social media as much as possible, but with owning a business, I usually have to be on there every day posting just so that we stay relevant in people's social media. But then I get caught doom scrolling as I'm trying to post my own stuff for the business, and that doesn't always help as either. And each day I try to be grateful for something. I tried a gratitude journal, but it just didn't work for me. So instead, I just prefer to say it out loud. And of course, pausing to take some deep breaths always helps. Good. Always helps slow the mind a bit, brings you back to a more grounded state. And that is it. Thank you very much. Thank you.